Alrighty, why don't we get started? Okay, so hello to those who are watching now or maybe watching later. Um, I'm Malva. I am Geneva's daughter. I am a former Odyssey of the Minder. I went to World Finals 4 times, I think. Um, Ended up placing fourth. I think was the best we got. So that was pretty good. It was pretty cool. So I know a little bit about Odyssey, just a little bit. Anyway, so I hear that this year things are going to be happening on Discord a lot. So my mother asked me to give a presentation because I do spend the majority of my days on Discord with my friend group from college. So I see if I can like give some insight onto how to make it work and stuff. So I'm gonna share my desktop so that you can see. So when you use Discord, the first thing obviously you want to do is make an account so that you can actually use the application. So to do that, you can go to discord.com and you can either access Discord in your browser, like in Google Chrome, or you can download the application. And so when you make an account, I think it's obviously easier to do it in your browser. But for like things that I'm going to show later, I'm actually going to be using the application on my desktop. But if you click open Discord in your browser, then it'll ask you for a username. So I don't know. I just hello 12345. Okay, so that's just like a random username. So this is how you create an account. So you input your desired username, and then it's going to ask you for your information. And so and then you have to confirm your email and your password. But then other than that, that's how you make an account. Um, and so once you have your account made, then you can go over to actual Discord. You can see my conversation with my mother, which is very exciting. Um, so when you first open Discord, you can see all on the left sidebar here, there are lots of icons, but presumably you won't have those icons because these are all the servers that I'm in. And if you're new to Discord, you won't be in any servers. But you will have this thing here at the top, which I'm hovering over right now, and you can see that it says home. So if I click on that, this is what it brings up. I'm already on the home screen. But you can see along the side here are all my direct messages. And so direct messages are the conversations that you have with people that you're friends with on Discord. And so yes, you can add friends by going to the friends tab on this thing. So if I go, I'm not on the friends tab, and then I click friends here. Now I'm on the friends tab. And so you can see all your friends, all the ones that are online, your friend requests, or you can add friends. And so to do that, you need to know your potential friend's username and their tag. So unlike some things like Instagram or other things, you don't just have a username for Discord, you have a username and a tag. So if you look down here in the bottom left corner, you can see this little, you can see my icon and my username and then my tag under here. So if I were to look for myself, I would have to enter the tag and it. And so then I would say send friend request, but that is me. So I don't think I can send myself a friend request, which is why it didn't work. So yes. But then after you become friends with someone, they appear in this list along the left here, and then you can send them direct messages. So when you go to a person, if you just click on their name, then you can just send something to my mom. Hello, mom. So that's how you send messages. And if you can also send files to people by clicking on this plus button, right? This plus sign right here. And then you can, it'll bring up your, whatever. If you're on a Mac, it'll bring up Finder. If you're on Windows, I don't know how Windows works. So, and then on the left, on the right side, you also have emojis and GIFs and things which are more social. So I don't, if that's your thing, then go for it, I guess. Let's see. So direct messages are when you're communicating directly with friends or when you when you're communicating with a group. So if you want to make a group, you just click this plus sign next to the direct messages up here, and then you can add people. You just click the check marks and then add. Yeah, so that's how you make a group DM. And then, but the other thing that Discord has, in addition to like just communicating directly with friends, is things called servers, which is, I mentioned them earlier. But servers, if I'm just gonna also go to the Nova East Odyssey server, which is probably useful to be a part of. So you can see here on the left, you have another sidebar, and you have these categories, and then inside these categories, you have two different types of things. You have things with hashtags next to them and things with this like audio symbol next to them. And so the things with hashtags are called text channels. So that's where you can send messages, just like, oh, I do not have permission to send messages. Okay. Yes. Why don't I? No, okay, it's fine.
You have permission in the Nova East team chat.
Okay. Okay. There we go. There we go. Good to know. So yes, text channels. You can send messages in text channels just like exactly like you send in direct messages. So you can. I'm not going to say anything because it feels very official, but you can send messages in the text channels. And then for the voice channels, I'm gonna mute myself first, but I'm gonna join one so you can see that if you join a voice call, this extra thing pops up here. And so you can turn on your camera by hitting the video button. So now you can see me here again. Oh, and there's mom. So yes, and so in this little thing in the left bottom corner again, you have all your controls for your voice call. So again, the video is here. You can also share your screen by clicking this, and then you can either share a specific application or you can share your entire screen. And then I will say though, for sharing your screen, if you have a Mac computer, you can't share your sound, which can be kind of frustrating if you're trying to like share a video or something on screen share. So be aware of that. If you have a Mac computer, you won't be able to share your sound when you're sharing your screen on Discord. You can also, I've already muted myself and so has mom, but you can click this button in order to mute or unmute yourself. And then this little icon, this headphone icon right here is to deafen yourself. And so deafening, if I click deafen, then it just means that you are muted, but you also can't hear what's happening in the call. So if you need to stay in the call, but you have to go do something else and you don't want people to hear you and you don't want to hear what's happening, then deafening is a good thing to do. And so the other thing that's cool about Discord is that you can be in a voice call while accessing other channels, only other text channels. You can only be in one voice call at a time, but you can be in a voice call and access other text channels at the same time. So if I'm in this call and I click on this, then I can still, if I can still send messages in this text channel while I'm in this voice call. And if I want to go back, and if other people had their cameras on, or if I just wanted to go see what was happening, then I could click on it and it would bring me back to the screen. The other thing to note about voice calls is if you want to change your audio settings, you can either go to right here in the center bottom of the screen. You can either click on this arrow and then go to voice settings. And then you can change your input and output devices as well as the volume. And there's lots of noise canceling features down here that you can use if you want. It's up to you. Or if you're not on a call, so if I disconnect myself from this call and I want to adjust it before I get into a call, I can go to user settings, which is in this bar at the bottom, like in the same place, and go to user settings, and then in app settings down here in the third category here, go to voice and video, and it's the same page, and you can adjust your stuff before you join a call. Okay. So that's settings. Oh, and so that same user settings is where there's lots of stuff you can fiddle with. The only stuff I really use very often is voice and video, but there's lots of other stuff you can do stuff with. And the last thing I want to talk about, like for general server stuff, is pinned messages. And I'm not sure if there's anything pinned in this server, so I'm going to go to my friend group server, which is the server that I use for communicating with my online friends in college. And let's see. So pinned messages are useful if there's something that you said like at the very beginning of a channel and now it's filled with messages, but that one message that you sent was extremely important and you want to be able to refer back to it and see it like again, then pinning a message is very useful. Um, so to pin a message, you go to more and then hit pin message. And I'm not going to do it because this is my friend's server. They'll be very confused as to why I'm pinning a random message that I sent. But if you click that, then once you can go up to this little in the top bar right here, there's like a little pin icon. And if you click on that, you'll be able to see all the messages that were pinned by people. And a cool thing about it is if you hover over one specific message, you can see that the word jump appears right here. And if you were to jump there, then it would like bring you to the place in the conversation where that message was. And you can just like read for context if you need to do that. And then if you want to go back, you just hit jump to present and then it will send you back there. So yes, that is servers in general. I don't know if I should ask for questions. If any of the people that are here have questions, feel free to speak up.
So what advantages does using Discord, let's say for Odyssey of the Mind meetings versus Zoom?
So for that, I would say the use of the dual voice and text channels is quite useful. I might go into this a little bit later when I show an example of how to create a server, but it's very useful to have. It's also like you have all of your stuff in one place and you have the ability to talk while you're able to write stuff down. So let me give you an example. Like if you were to, in your personal server, if you were to create a voice channel for people that were working on like the script of your Odyssey of the Mind performance, and then you had a text channel for that script that also on your server, then you could be typing in your text channel and be talking in your voice channel. So it would be easier to you can record stuff while it's happening, and so it's like rather than like writing stuff down and then having to send it all out, it'd already be there and everyone will be able to see it already. So it's just like a quicker way to make sure that everyone's on top of everything, even if they're not in the call while it's happening. If that makes sense.
Malva, there was another question in the chat about whether everyone needs to set up an account for teams to meet. So you want to talk about that?
I'm pretty sure everyone does need an account in order to access the server. For people that are young, which I'm sure a lot of the teammates are, I'm pretty sure their parents need to make their accounts. But yeah, they do need an account in order to access the server. But it's very simple, so it shouldn't be too complicated to do.
But the actual discussion in the text is just, it's basically text. It's not like opening a document and having, like Google Docs or something.
No, it's not. It's not like having a document. But if you're just trying to like jot notes down, then it can be useful because then you can be having a call and online. And then instead of, I suppose like if it's like equivalent to being on a Zoom call and having a Google Docs and having everyone on the Google Docs and typing as you talk. But with Discord, it's just everything's in the same place. So it's not like multiple things you're dealing with. I think the other reason for using Discord is that, correct me if I'm wrong, Mom, but I think the competitions are using Discord this year. So it's just useful to know it and like be comfortable with it, I think.
Well, they did last year. They used Discord for the spontaneous. And so I think if you're familiar with Discord, you don't have the technology hurdle in addition to just the spontaneous as well. I think the main advantage, so certainly you could make do with Zoom and with Google Docs, and then having people share and toggle between. But with Discord, you won't really have to do the sharing because it's already, as long as everybody has the app going, they would see everything without, so it would be all right there. And furthermore, the history would be there. And like Malva said, with the pinning, you'd be able to pin important points. You could use a Google Doc and actually use Discord to put the link in for that Google Doc, so people could easily reference, right? I mean, I don't know, Molly, if you have other ideas like that.
Yeah, no, that would also be viable. Yeah, it's just a way to, it's just an easy way to communicate with people, and yeah, I don't know.
It also would not constrain them to doing things only when you're having Odyssey meetings, because it will notify people if, you know, you can set it up to do notification, and they could do an ad hoc meeting and just say, hey, you know, I wanted to talk to somebody about this. And then you wouldn't have to set up a whole Zoom call in order to do it. You could just have a little ad hoc discussion between 2 or 3 people that are working on an idea. So it would be a little bit more like you're in person with people, than a Zoom call.
Yeah,
I kind of equate it with like recess. Like sometimes our teams would almost meet at recess or talk at lunch or an extended day, and they won't have that anymore. So this is kind of like their opportunity to kind of get together with their teammates outside of a scheduled meeting with their coach, and have access to some of the chats and thoughts outside of that. So that's why I think it might be a good resource, especially for teams that are upper elementary or middle school.
Most of my team is third graders, although there's one fourth and one fifth. Do you think the third graders would be able to handle this?
I know fourth graders at Taylor are using it pretty regularly. And if you've got some pretty with it third graders, I think they could catch on pretty quickly. I think kids, honestly, I think kids often know more than we do, and it's almost scary. So I think it's doable. It's just whether you want to kind of try to dive into something like that with them.
So if there are no more questions, I'm gonna talk about how to make your own server in case that's what you want to do for your team meetings. So to make a server, you go over to this left sidebar again with all the icons that I have, and you go to this plus sign here. And click add a server. And so you can start from a template, but honestly, I've looked at these and they're not like, it's pretty simple to just start from scratch, and then you can design it exactly how you want to. So I just create my own, and then let's call it OTM example. And you can add a picture if you really want to. I'm not going to because it's just an example, but if that's what you want to do, do that. So you write the server name, then you create it. So now your default setup is one general text channel and one general voice channel. And so obviously now I can send messages. Hello, hi. It's like the same. It's like a general text channel. So, and the way to create text channels and voice channels is going to like the name of the category, and hitting the plus sign right here. And you can either create a text or a voice channel. And just to show, I'm going to create a voice channel here. And I'm going to say new voice channel. How exciting. Create channel. And so even though this heading says text channels, it's just the name of the category. It's not actually constraining all of the channels here to be text channels. So like I said, I created a voice channel under this text channel thing. And if I wanted to change the name of this category, I can go to, I right click on the name of it, and I go to edit category, and I can change the name of it, and I can say other or something. And I go, and I have to save my changes, and then now other is the name of this category. And so now I have one voice channel, one text channel. And so yes, so you can make separate categories and then have separate sub text channels and voice channels underneath those categories. And that being said, you can make your own categories. You don't have to stick with this, like renaming these two and changing them every so often. You can make a new one. And the way to do that is to go to this drop-down arrow on the name of the server right here in the top left corner. Go to this drop-down and then hit create category. And then, I don't know what to call it. I'm looking very creative today. Let's go other two. So now we have another category, and you'll notice that there's no channels under here because all I did was create the category, and there's no default channels that go into a category. So I can do the same thing, whereas I can create a channel, and I'll make a text channel this time. I'll say text channel. Exciting. I'll create it, and now there's a text channel under here, and I can do the same thing. Hello. Yes, I think that is, yes, creating categories and channels was pretty straightforward. I think you can also create channels just like outside of categories. Let's see if this works. Hello too. Yeah, so if you go again to this drop down arrow in the server name, you can create a channel which won't be under any category at all. And because you just made it for the server and not for a specific category. But yeah, for each server you can create channels and you can create categories, and then within all of your channels you can create. Within all of your categories you can create separate channels. Okay. The other thing to know about servers is that if you're the admin of a server, you can do this thing called assigning roles, which can be useful if you want to have certain people doing one thing and send messages to a certain group of people, or make only certain people able to access a specific channel. So if I go again to this down arrow and go to server settings, and then go to this second thing over here underneath the first category, and that'll be roles. And so right now the only role, which is the default role for anything in a server, is @everyone. So that's just everyone in the server is underneath that role. But if you wanted to make a new role, if you go to this little plus sign here, and then change the name of the new role, and you say maybe you want to make a role for the coaches. If you have multiple coaches and you want to make sure that all those coaches are designated as a coach in your Discord server, then you can change, you can make a role coach. And then you can do the same thing with making a team role, team member role. See the changes. And so if you wanted to assign certain members certain roles, you go, instead of going to roles, you go down to user management, just this third thing here, and go to members. And I'm the only member of this server, so it's it won't be as exciting. But if I go to this, you can add roles to people by hitting this little plus button next to someone and then assigning. So if I'm a coach, then I can give myself a coach role, and you can delete it and team member. And so you can also display all the roles of someone, just like to see who is who. Yeah, so that's how you assign roles. And then so the reason that this is useful is if you're in a text channel, you can do this thing called, I don't actually know what it's called. It's just like adding certain groups of people. So if I do an @ sign, and then when that comes up, you see all these different options. So everyone, @everyone means that if you send a message with the tag @everyone, then it will notify everyone who's on the server. If you do @here, then it will show everyone who's online. And then you can also add specific roles, which is why this is useful. So if you wanted to send a message to all the team members in your team and not the coaches, I don't know why you would want to do that, but if that's what you wanted to do, then you could say @team member, and then say hello. Then all of the team members would get a notification. And you can see that I am a team member because someone has mentioned me. And when someone mentions you, it like, you can see this like a faint highlight over this message. Versus if I were to say @coach, I didn't assign myself the role coach. So you can see it's not highlighted. So yes, you can see that I got a notification, and it made sure to tell me that I was notified because I am part of this role. Okay. And in terms of like the everyone versus here, like if I go again to @ you can see the people like tagging everyone versus tagging everyone who's online. If I had more people in the server, you'd be able to tell. So I'm just going to show you. This is again my school server. So we have two roles, Kate and not Kate. Kate is my my peer advisor. It's a kind of a joke, inside joke. But the people who are online have this little green symbol, this little green circle under like on their profile icon. People who are idle have the little moon, and then offline are just in a separate section, and they're kind of blurred out, so they're just not online. So since I'm the only one here, if I were to send to here, then again it would show me that I've been notified with this. I've been mentioned with this thing because I'm the only one online in my server. And so with roles, again, you can use it to privatize, if that's the right word, specific text channels or voice channels. So if I just go to this category right here, other two, and I create a channel, and I make it a text channel, and I say secret text channel. How exciting! And I decide to toggle this that says private channel. Then only I say create channel, then it'll bring up this other screen where I have to determine who is able to see it. So if I only want the coaches to be able to see it, then I would select coach, and then I think I can see it just because I'm an admin.
Yes, I think so.
So that doesn't really illustrate the point very well. But if I were not an admin, and I were not assigned the role of coach, and presumably, the coaches will be the admins in your server, so this won't be a problem if your team members decide to like revolt and make their own secret text channels, which I don't think. Yeah, if not, they won't be able to if they're not admin. So never mind. This is kind of pointless in the end. But you can, in fact, if you're a coach and you want to make things that are secret to coaches, so that your team members can't see it for some reason. If you want to be secretive, then that's how you do that. You can just make a locked text channel or a voice channel.
But the team members themselves, if they're not admins, they can't do that. I'm
Correct.
just trying to think of liability kids. Okay, I just,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay.
So Malva, there were a couple more questions in the chat.
Okay.
One was whether, like if you were setting up a server for the team, would you make like a text channel for the script and another one for props and another one for general brainstorming, or do you have some ideas about sort of what you might recommend for setting up?
Yeah, so I think it would be very useful to have a separate voice and text channel for each like sub team of the project that you're working on, because then you can have people meeting at different times, like in different channels, and they can be like in the same overall, like if you're saying like let's meet today and work like all together, but separate groups of people want to work on different things, you can all still be on the server and talking to different people without having so many people in one group. I guess having separate voice channels and separate text channels is the equivalent of going into breakout rooms on Zoom. But it's easier because then if one person decides they're done working on props or whatever, then they can just by themselves jump over to a separate voice channel. So it's just like easier to like for team rate, like self-regulation, I suppose. And I would also recommend that you make like I mentioned, a voice channel and a text channel for each separate sub team. So if I go back to my friend server, if we go down to stress and crippling depression, which is what we call our schoolwork section, you can see that we have like we have a chemistry text channel and then an equivalent chemistry voice channel, and the same thing for math and all of our other classes, which means that people can be like, you can have people that are studying for chem in one channel and people that are studying for math in another channel. And then if they want to send a link to some video that they saw that was helpful or whatever, then they can send it in the chemistry. And if there are people that are in math and chemistry, but one of them is they choose to study for math instead, so they can't be in the chemistry call, then they can still access this chemistry text channel so that they can see like kind of what people are working on without actually having to be in the call. Yeah, I don't know if that really answered the question, but yeah, I think it's a good idea.
And then there was another question about can you regulate who has access to your channel to the extent that, for instance, if there's people who are not behaving appropriately, you could remove them, or if they're not supposed to be in the channel, you could remove them, or how does that work?
You can do that. You can, what I just did is I went to the settings little edit channel thing here. If you hover over it, you can see this little gear. You go to edit channel. You go to permissions. If I make this a private channel, you can add, in addition to adding roles, like I said, like before, like I did coach or team member, you can also add people. So if I do, how do I do this? No, I don't. There should be a way to.
Can you just add, like, just type in Malva DeVore?
I tried that. No.
With the pound for 4724 or not?
No, it just didn't.
Okay.
Interesting.
Okay, it says do it with an @ sign, but okay. Well, anyway, we could figure that out separately.
Yeah, but so it should be possible to remove people from text channels and voice channels. Oh, the other thing that you can do is if you're an admin and you're on a voice channel, I think you have the ability to mute people and or deafen them. So if someone is being very obnoxious and you're all on a separate voice channel together and you're an admin, you're like, I really cannot listen to this guy talk anymore. Then you could, if you're an admin, you can mute them, and then I'm not entirely sure if they can unmute themselves, but the intention would be there. And I know you can't force people to unmute themselves or undeafen themselves, but you can mute or deafen them if they're being very obnoxious in a specific voice call that you're in. So that might be useful.
I would add too that as a teacher, like the kids have learned about digital citizenship. So if you guys decide to kick this off, I would talk to them about that ahead of doing this, just to remind them about what their responsibilities are in the digital world, to make sure that they are behaving appropriately and not hurting people's feelings, those kind of things. So, and you have to gauge whether or not your team can handle it. So maybe your team members are even in middle school and wouldn't be able to handle this, but maybe there are younger students who would. You just have to kind of know your team and decide if you want to set that up.
And then the last thing for doing servers is inviting people, because obviously you want to have your entire team in your server. So the way to do that is to go to this drop down arrow in the top left again, and you hit invite people. And so if I invite, if you have all of your team members and coaches as your friends already, like we talked about earlier, then you can just add them. So if let's see, if my mom's here, I can hit invite, and then it will send her an invitation to join the server. Or if you're not friends with them already, then you can just copy this link, which I can also just, if you just copy it, and then I'll just go send it to my mom. And then it's the same thing, except this way I just automatically sent it to her versus this one I copy and pasted in. But either way, she should be able to access it now. Indeed, there she is. She has joined the server. Yeah, so that's how you invite people. And like to join the server, you just click on the link, obviously. So I think that is all that I wanted to cover in my discussion. So if anyone else wants to talk, that's cool.
I want to thank Melva for taking the time today to share this tool with us. Obviously, it's optional, but we thought it was a good resource for kids to use to be able to meet and have access to chats and video time outside of their meetings. So thanks so much, Malva. Any other questions, you guys?
I think we're done.
I just have one question. I'm
Mhm.
sorry, I was trying to
Okay.
unmute myself.
Okay.
If when you're like you have multiple people on the voice channel, do we see them like in Zoom with all the different screens at the same time? Is there a max? Is there, can we manipulate it? That type of thing.
You definitely can see everyone at the same time if you go and click on the name of the voice channel that you're in while you're in it. Then it will bring you to like the page and it will look like a Zoom screen. I haven't been on a voice call with enough people for it there needing to be like screen manipulation, so I can't really comment on that. But yeah, I don't know.
No, I'm
Sorry.
also wondering, no, because I'm also wondering, okay, when we're filming for our last, if we're all virtual team, so we're never going to be actually meeting live. So I'm trying to figure out which would make more sense for recording, whether a Zoom or a Discord, where everybody's acting out on their own little, screen.
Yeah, I've been on a call with with 10 people, I think, and they were all, maybe it was 8. I think it was 8, and they were all on the same screen. So if you're, I don't know how many people you would need to have on the voice channel at the same time.
The teams are no more than 8, so that would be the max.
Yeah, but I was just thinking if you had more coaches that wanted to be there, but that I'm pretty sure with 8, all of them appear on the same screen like a normal Zoom page, so it should be fine.
Thank you very much.